Life and death are polar by definition, but upon further analysis, a more comprehensive picture of the relationship between the two can be achieved. Although the ideas of life and death are contrasting in character, it is evident throughout the novel of As I Lay Dying, written by William Faulkner, that these themes correlate through the complexities of each character's thoughts and actions. "I reckon you better get supper on," he says. Dewey Dell does not move. "Get up now and put supper on." "I reckon you better put supper on." "Get up now, go put supper on." From Ance's words in this scene, we learn not only that Ance is significantly inconsiderate in nature, but also that he expects Dewey Dell to step up and fill the role her mother just recently vacated. Even though Ance may demonstrate this hopeful demand in a selfishly careless way, it seems that he speaks for the other members of the family as well. Without Addie, there leaves a void of responsibility. As one passes from this life, there are those that rise up and adjust to fill that very same position. "I would let him come in between me and Leif like Darl came in between me and Leif, and so Leif is alone too." This is a quote describing the complex transition that Dewey Dell is forced to endure amidst the turmoil occurring within and without the physical world. A little too soon, Addie Bungern dies. Some take this as a blessing for liberty, like Ance, and others take this as an opportunity to move forward, accepting a new embellished character with a new role to play. Dewey Dell is given little grieving time before she has to move on and put the newly deceased behind her, all the while focusing on her internal conflict, the unknown life that is constantly growing within her. This is an example of how the death of one can spark the focusing of life that still exists. "It was then, and I saw Darl, and he knew. He said he knew without the words, like he told me Ma is going to die without words." In this quotation, Dewey Dell reveals the similarities between death and the beginning of life through pregnancy. She realizes that the look Darl gave her when she was caught with her boyfriend Leif was the same look that he wore as he informed her of their mother's death. This creates a sense that Darl is relating the two events as similar in meaning, furthering the idea that childbirth relates to the passing of their mother. Darl is able to relate the two events through a feeling of emotion. He relates the sadness he feels in his mother's passing to the sadness and disappointment he feels when he catches his sister with Leif. "And when I knew that I had cash, I knew that living was terrible and that this was the answer to it." Here, Addie is stating that once a woman gives birth, her life isn't worth living. Addie experiences this when she had cash, and now that Dewey Dell is pregnant, she fears that the same thing will happen to her. This is why Dewey Dell is so persistent in getting an abortion. She fears having a baby will end her life the same way it ended Addie's. Overall, Addie and Dewey Dell are in similar scenarios, and Dewey Dell is attempting to avoid making the same mistake that Addie did. "It takes two people to make you, and one people to die. That's how the world is going to end." Darl is contemplating the relationship between life and death as he ponders how a soul enters and leaves the world. Darl understands that a person enters the world with people waiting for you. A baby is brought into this world at the hands of two people, both a mother and a father, and a person could not be born without these two. However, when a person leaves this world, they leave alone, and they don't need any assistance. This is shown when Addie dies, and she goes on her own. Her soul left her body with no outside assistant, and she left her family behind in her wake. Dewey Dell, on the other hand, is struggling with a pregnancy as she is unable to grasp the fact that a baby may come into the world at her hands, and she would have to be the primary caretaker. This shows the relationship as you leave the world alone and you enter the world with people waiting for you. Faulkner utilizes multiple perspectives to form a more concrete relationship between childbearing and death. By showing how the different characters react to different situations, he not only increases a sense of who the character is, but the relationships that that character shares with others. Faulkner uses these relationships to form complex ideas that can be interpreted in a multitude of different ways. adding meaning and depth to the relationships of the characters. The thoughts and actions of all characters throughout the novel form a complex understanding of what life and death mean to each individual and ultimately what the two concepts mean to Faulkner himself.